me see your nails. Wait.
Hot dog. One hot dog.
Oh my gosh, do you mind if I take a photo?
You have to.
Yeah.
You've got to take a photo of these nails. Atsuko Okatsuka, welcome to Fresh Air.
Oh my gosh, Tanya, it is a pleasure. It's an honor. It was really cool. I'm just still in awe. I'm processing, like I was saying, your angelic voice, your aura, and the way you introduced me. I was like, this is too good to be true.
Well, it's a pleasure to be sitting in front of you, Atsuko. And I have to ask you about your name and the spelling. So there's a U in both your first name and your last name, but the U is silent.
Right, yeah.
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 What's your relationship to the letter U? Because you're always probably correcting people like, it's silent.
Right. It's there to trip you
Right.
up because, yeah, I mean, it's a Japanese name. So in Japan, it's not like we're walking around being like the U is silent. There is no U.
Right.
Right?
There's no U in the Japanese alphabet or like the chronological letters. Yeah.
Right. And so, it's just when I saw it spelled out in English when I moved here, I said, really? That's interesting. I guess, we'll keep it that way. And then that will be sort of my lifelong story of having to help people figure out how to say it. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So when it's written in Japanese, the translation added the U to it.
I think so. That's what yes, yeah.
That's
Isn't
so
language is wild. Right. You know what? There's a few more words like this, right? In various like foods, for example, like tempura in English is spelled T-E-M.
Yes.
P-U-R-A.
Right.
In Japanese, it's ten, T-E-N, pura.
Tempura.
There's no M.
Right.
Where did that M come from? No idea.
We just added it.
Yeah, it's just so that, you know what it's done for me as a Japanese, immigrant coming to America. When I tried to order my own people's food from Japanese people here. Wait, no, sorry. What it's done is, yeah, they don't understand what I'm trying to order. Does that make sense? Because
Right.
I'm trying to do it the correct way from
Yes.
Japan.
And they're so used to everyone here not being able to do it.
They're
so,
like, it's
yeah.
tempura. Yeah.
Did you ever have an American name or, Americanized name?
Yeah, for a couple of months, I went by Stacy. Yeah, I thought it would,
Why just a few months?
because, I say a lot, it's important to know who you're not. And when something feels off, right? Oh, I'm going by Stacy, right? And, after a few tries of that in a couple of months, I was like, okay, that doesn't stick for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coat doesn't fit.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, Stacy. Yeah, there was a Barbie named Stacy at that time, and so I think sometimes I'd seen her at the toy store. She's
So is
like,
that how you chose it? Yeah.
well, my teacher at the time had suggested maybe you go by something like that so that it would be easier for people to say your name. She knew I was getting teased for Atsuko.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it was her trying to help too.
Yep.
It's always people trying to help a lot of times. And then you still have to go, to yourself, be like, but is that right for me? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, your story is incredible. As you mentioned, you immigrated here from Japan. You were born into a Japanese-Taiwanese family, spent your early childhood in Japan, moved here to the United States when you were 8 years old. Your grandmother basically kidnapped you, and you joke about this. You joke about your mom's mental illness. You guys arrived here as a trio. But although you tell this story in a pretty comical way, it sounds pretty traumatic.
Right. Yeah. But what I found about trauma is while you're going through it, you're not going, this is trauma. This is trauma. This is not good.
Right.
I didn't have time to feel that, I'm realizing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in a strange way, as I processed it over the years, I guess, whether it was depression that I was hitting or sadness that I was feeling, I didn't know that was maybe the trauma that I was processing. And then now that it's been really a longer time, and I'm able to joke about it, I'm realizing I've sort of started to heal without even realizing it. Does that make sense?
Well, it does because so much of your comedy, it feels like you're working it out on stage. And that's the fascinating thing about your comedy. And I really want to get more into that. I also want to know, though, about those first years when you arrived here, because the three of you, your mother, your grandmother, and your mom, your mother, your grandmother, and you arrived and you were staying in your uncle's garage. Was it a real garage? Like, describe this garage.
So it was a garage that he then extended for us so that there would be a bedroom attached and then a restroom, a toilet shower, and then a kitchen unit in where the cars were originally would go. Yeah. And so I don't think that was legal for him to do. Because, to
Right.
deck it out like that. But it happened to be that the garage was like behind this sort of like gate that you open to go to the backyard. So it was kind of hidden away from, the streets. Like if you were driving by the
Bye.
house, you wouldn't see that that's what they had done to the garage. Yeah.
So basically, it was one big room.
Yes, yeah. There was a door that led to the quote unquote bedroom, like, and toilet and
Yeah.
shower. So you could have, you could be in two separate like spaces, though.
At one time.
At
Right.
one time, yeah.
Yes.
At one
Yes.
time, yeah.
You joke when people ask you, like, what's wrong with you? You say, well, I was raised by a 50-year-old woman when that's your only friend. And that really cracks me up when you say that. But I mean, what has your grandmother said about your choice to arrive here and to come here? You have talked about this quite a bit on stage and in this American Life. There's a beautiful episode where you even joke about, like, your life is traumatic when Ira Glass calls you and says,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That it's not good.
Yes. But what did your grandmother tell you about the choice to bring you all here? And really, you spent your childhood in that garage.
Yeah, I think. Well, so my grandma and I hadn't really talked about it in depth until kind of Ira Glass, which was just
2023? Was it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just 2 years ago. I mean, this whole time I just needed someone to be like, "Do you want to do it for radio?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, yes." Now I would like to uncover what's going on,
Yes.
or else, I'm fine with just not knowing. The truth hurts, right? And so I want to do it not alone. And it helped that I got to do it with Ira and the thousands of listeners,
Yes, yeah.
right? At the same time. Then I'm really not alone.
It wasn't funny, though. I mean, you told it in a very matter-of-fact way, in a very moving way as well. I just
Right.
wondered,
The
as
piece, yeah?
someone, as someone who is always used to bringing in that little bit of humor into it, what was that like for you to share that story in that way?
Well, my base, I feel like I always say there's like a kind of aura of sadness around me, because the truth is my mom, as we're speaking, I can picture her right now. She's sitting upstairs in the house that my uncle owns, my other uncle. And she is laying in bed and she hasn't left that house in a long, long time. She, doesn't have any friends. She is severely depressed, and I just all my life my mom has suffered, and I, I, I think about that all the time as I get to do things like tour and travel, see the world, come to here, the West Side, even, as I go out drinking with friends. My mom can't do any of those things. She's suffering so much, right? And so. So I have the ability to tap into, I think, I guess just being present and real, especially when dealing with heavy topics. When I'm trying to protect an audience, when I'm trying to protect other people, which is why I became a performer. I love people and I love the arts because of that. Yes, I'm going to do it with humor. People paid tickets to come see me. I'm not going to just tell you sad stories. I'm going to make sure you laugh so you can forget your problems, right?
It's so interesting you use the word protect as a way to entertain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, for me as a performer, that's what I want people to have, is to feel seen by the end of my shows, but also that they got to have a good time, because then they're going back to their regular life, and I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
And so So yeah, naturally, doing a piece like I did with Ira Glass, right, where it was because I was discovering things for the first time too, interviewing my dad.
As you're telling the story, right?
Yeah.
Because one thing that you do in your comedy is, and in this story, is really parse out how when you're living it, you don't know all the pieces of the puzzle. So you
Right.
didn't really know your grandmother's reasoning. You don't know your mother's side of the story, even with your father and that connection of how they came together. And so you were learning it as you were actually putting that story together.
Right, right. Real time detective. Yeah.
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 I'm really noting what you said about like how your mother's presence is kind of always with you. You can imagine where she is actually in this very moment. What's interesting is your mother was not diagnosed with schizophrenia, you share, until she was much older. She was in her 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, when did you become aware that she was suffering and that maybe she wasn't like other mothers?
I think that I was always in denial a little bit. I still am, you know. I still think that I think this of everyone that is going through mental illness because I think it is true. I truly believe it that like however much, there is I don't know, quote unquote abnormality going on or like chemical imbalances going on, underneath that is the real you, is the beautiful, real you that loves dancing. If you're my mom was a ballerina when she was young, or loved to put on plays with her neighborhood friends, when she lived in a small village in Taiwan. Or, whatever your story is, whatever you're into as a person, before bipolar or depression or multiple personality disorder, whatever that you have come across, I truly believe that about each person.
When was it apparent to you
Oh
when you
yeah.
were younger, you guys living in this garage, that your mother was suffering?
I knew before I even was moved to America in Japan, all of my classmates, their parents were still together. It was classic in a sense that I'm realizing. So Japanese family structures at the time, I guess 90s, right, was very classic in a way that like fits for society, but maybe it's not great for weirdos, right?
Oh, in what way? Yeah.
And women, and it's just the classic patriarchal
Yes.
structure.
Yeah.
The man of the household is the breadwinner, and he goes to work every day, whether he's a salaryman or an engineer
Yeah.
or whatever he does, right? And then the mom is a stay-at-home mom. She cooks, and if there's like school plays that are being put on, right? They'll both go. The parents will both go.
That's what we see on TV, right?
Yes.
Right.
So I did notice, for at like school plays or parental meetings, it was always both parents present for all the other kids. When I would go have play dates at their house too, it was both parents there on the weekends and stuff.
And so was it your grandmother who would take you to those things?
Right. So it would be my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, sometimes it would be like whispers like, okay, who is she bringing this time? Is it grandma?
Yeah.
Is her mom going to show up? What's her mom look like? We don't even know. Does she have a dad? And
What would you tell people when they'd ask you about your mom?
well, I remember one time telling my like second grade teacher because she knew that my mom was sick. That was the word I would use. My grandma told me she was sick, and I knew something was off, so I was like, "Oh, she's sick with something." And so, and then I remember trying to describe to my teacher what would happen sometimes. And my mom also has seizures. So that was the part that she understood. She was like, oh, wow, she has seizures and then she'll just fall.
Yeah.
And okay, that's intense. Yeah, I could see why it's hard for her to physically be at the school or get places. I didn't know how to quite describe her mental state yet because I was
A kid.
a kid. Yeah.
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 Well, what was revealed in that This American Life piece and what you've gone on to reveal is that your grandmother really just wanted to have you. She wanted to protect you, but she knew that maybe circumstances weren't the best in Japan, and she knew you alone with your mother maybe wouldn't have been the best, so she brought you here. But I found this really fascinating, this relationship that you all have, because it's such a deep, profound relationship. You did this wonderful documentary when you were in college where you documented sort of a day in the life of you and your mom and your grandmother, and you called them Laurel and Hardy. And there was sort of a humor there just in watching them do day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
But that was like a twosome. But in reality, your childhood was a threesome. You all were the three
Right.
amigos in a way. What was your role in that sort of trifecta, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I felt like I was super an observer. That's kind of, I didn't really think about it till now when you brought up, me documenting them, right? So that was in art school where I was, playing with documentary filmmaking, which meant that I was behind the camera when I was filming them, right? And now I'm like, oh, she's a star. What is she doing behind the camera? I said, where's this trio? It's just two people, Where's my FaceTime, my camera time? But anyway, so, being behind the camera, I realized, oh, I was kind of going back to, I guess, my childhood where I was observing a lot. I was observing my mom, my grandma. So I didn't know how to fit into the picture of the trio quite yet.
Yes.
Because, it seemed unstable. I was like, do I go in this trio? Do I want to be a part of this trio? When I was 17, I started dating someone for the first time in my life, and I took off with him, to go live with him in Santa Clarita, which is
Not
like
too far from here, yeah.
yeah, it's like a 40-minute drive from that garage. And so I was like, I'm out of here. Here's my new family. This boy.
A lot of your comedy revolves around you not knowing basic life skills, like how to do laundry. And I thought, well, that's interesting because you were raised by a Taiwanese grandmother. So, at the same time, there's like this combination of wonder and innocence in you, and also a maturity.
Oh, uh-huh. Right. Yeah, emotionally very mature. I have a lot of feels and love for human beings. I will never, my goal in life is to make sure nobody feels left out. And that I can do for humans. But if you tell me, watch my purse, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could promise you that, but I will be there emotionally if if you tell me that you feel alone or left out or something sad has happened to you. I know how to be there for you, but, to do something, and I'm getting better. I'm getting better at the tangible, being on top of things.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, I won't lose your purse, but there was a time in my life where you really couldn't trust me with that.
Yeah, with those basic things. I think your friend Dilo?
Yeah.
Dilo said, like,
You talked to my friend Dilo?
I did not talk to your friend Dilo, but Dilo has talked to lots of other people in articles and things. So I read an article where Dilo said, you live like 10 seconds behind everything else that happens to you. And I wonder, what did they mean by that?
Dilo, I swear to God, when I first met Dilo, he didn't tell me this, but he asked other people if I was on drugs because we were about to do a show together in San Francisco and before stage. Yeah, I was just, I had my purse, and my purse was always a little open, and sometimes things would fall out of it, and I would walk. I'm a little pigeon-toed, so if I wore heels, I wore more heels back then. I would just click, clack, things would fall out. Oh, there's Atsuko coming. Boom, maybe, bump into a wall and then be on stage. But, I would charm the audience, I would do well. And comedy was the one place I really thrived. And then, we'll go back to the hotel and I'll realize I've left my wallet. You know what I mean? I was like that.
Yes.
And so I think that's what he meant. He literally I guess, had asked the other
Someone.
comedians and the
Yeah.
producers, "Hey, is she on drugs? And should we be gentle with her?" I said, "What? No, this is just me."
Right. You know, I was thinking about that, your mother's diagnosis and what it was like um, growing up with her. But she was diagnosed with schizophrenia in her mid 30s. Was that a relief to know a name for what you had been experiencing throughout your childhood? Did that offer anything to you by the time that happened?
Oh, it did not because I think I didn't super look into it on my own. I was afraid for more, probably, truth. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I used to go to church when I first, got to the States. And my uncle, who we were staying with, and his wife, my aunt and uncle were going to church.
What kind of church?
It was a Chinese Baptist church.
Mm, yeah.
And that's how you end up going there, right? Is like, it's easy. If you're an immigrant, it's very easy for them to be like, well, you need friends, right?
Yes. And this is a place you can get friends, is church. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
you like free food? I was like, yes, yes. We do outings? Sometimes we go, play basketball at the park. I like that. So yeah, I ended up there, and because of that, and then I became super Christian, right? Like on my own. I think, right, I needed something to believe in or something. It was community, all
Yep.
these things. And I was still confused about why we didn't go back to Japan,
Yes.
and my mom's condition, and then that garage. So I took it very seriously to the point I even like signed up for Jesus camp on my own.
Joy of Jesus Camp.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Is that what it's called? Joy of
There
Jesus
is a
camp?
camp called Joy of Jesus, and it's a Baptist camp, and it's all over the country. And so when you said Jesus
It
Camp, I
might
just
be
thought about
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere. It was in Big Bear, but it was like usually, churches sign up together. Like
Yes.
the youth group will sign up together. One year, nobody from my church signed up, but I was like, I'm going to do it on my own because that's how much of a believer I am.
Yeah.
What an insane thing. I had no group representing me. It was just me on my own. And so I went, and I remember at the camp, there were like these prayer groups and prayer meetings we would break it off into. And one night it was like me and like 30 people in a prayer group. And I asked for them to pray for my mom. Pray for my mom to get better, to, to be freed from the voices in her head and all these things, from the suffering, from severe depression, from the seizures, from feeling so isolated and down all the time. And then I remember, like, when 30 people are praying for you out loud,
Yeah.
and you're like in Big Bear, it's almost like a vacation, right? We were outdoors overlooking like forests and mountains. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I truly thought that it was gonna work.
Hmm.
I remember believing, like I was in middle school, I remember believing, oh my gosh, this is really different. I've prayed for this before, but it's really gonna, when I go home, she's gonna be healed.
Even with medication.
I mean, yeah, the medication, we had to choose, do we treat the seizures more or the voices more? Because those two kinds of medications cancel each other out. So
Oh.
we decided to treat the seizures more because that's more, immediately fatal and scarier just because it's physical. Yeah.
What a choice to have to make.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's something I found out later, but maybe that's what I was afraid of, right? Like being told that, well, you have to choose seizures or schizophrenia. I'm like, they both start with an S. Jesus Christ. You have to choose one or the other. Okay. And that's a bummer too. Yeah.
Did you ever try to make your mom laugh growing up?
I did. Yeah. But for a big chunk of my life, I was very scared of her. Yeah. So I would try to avoid her. Sometimes I would entertain her. Yeah.
What did that look like?
I would take like toys that I had in the house. I would give her one and I would have the other one. And we would sort of play out scenarios where maybe we're battling bad people that are coming to us, Get them over here, to the left, to the right, Mom, behind us. we're surrounded. I don't know. We're always surrounded by evil spirits. I don't know. It's so poetic now that I think about it now.
That's what
right?
she would say. Like, you guys are always around evil spirits. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. And so I would fight it off with her. Not that that was a funny thing or it was trying to make her laugh, but I think it was me trying to entertain her and, and myself.
Yeah.
That was one way we could hang out, was pretending there were other things going on instead of just us, sitting down for a chat or whatever.
You're in your late 30s now, right? You're somewhere in there.
Yeah, 30, 37. I just turned 37. Thank you for the reminder.
Happy birthday. Your
Oh,
birthday
oh.
just happened. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I stay humble.
Was there ever a fear that you might inherit a mental illness?
My dad mentioned that he was afraid something might have passed down to me, but I never feared that. Yeah. Something I realized is like, sometimes people ask, are you scared of dying? Things like that.
Yeah.
I don't think about that for myself at all. I think about it for other people. I'm constantly afraid people around me might pass or something will happen to them. But I never go, am I going to get mental illness? Am I going to die? I never think about that.
Something really interesting. You found out while dating your husband, was it very early on, that his mother also has schizophrenia.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
How serendipitous.
I know. What a princess fairy tale love story. Right?
Right. So it's something that you all bonded over through dating. And I can imagine there are things that you all just don't even have to say to each other, that you sort of just know implicitly through your actions, through your decisions and things like that. When did that become clear to you, that not only do we both share in this same experience of having a mother, but there are things that now I see in you and you see in me that maybe you hadn't seen in anyone else before?
Yeah, that's very true. I saw glimpses of it very early on, right? We both love to entertain. We both love to make other people laugh.
Yeah.
He's very witty. He's very funny, my husband. And he's a natural caretaker, too. Yeah. So, for example, he tours with me. He makes sure that I don't feel left out by making sure other people can pronounce my name, things like that he'll do for me on the road. His name is Ryan, so he knows he's never really had to go through that experience. He's seen it through me, though.
Mm-hmm.
And so those little glimpses, right, that I also see in myself because of my upbringing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, on one of our earlier dates, we were having drinks outside. It was like a bar with a patio outside, and there was an unhoused man who was talking to himself and kind of scaring the people at the bar. And I knew what was going on with him, and my husband, he knew how to deal with it too. He was also a manager at a coffee shop, so people were kind of scared of this man kind of stumbling, and is he going to walk into this establishment, whatever. My husband knew to look at him calmly and sort of talk him, out of being in that area, but very kindly, because we know that's schizophrenia that's going on. Yeah.
You all have a lens into the world through your understanding. I think about living in a place like LA or any major city where you're encountering people who are having mental health episodes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it also mean for you to see the world react to it and not understand it?
Yeah, I understand, right? Not wanting to understand it or be scared of it, because it is hard. It's not black and white. Human beings were super nuanced. And so add, oh my gosh, chemical imbalances and mental illness on top of that makes it even harder. It's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this latest stand-up special because you talk about reconnecting with your father in it, and he's always lived in Japan. So essentially, you grew up here in the States, in LA, where you all arrived without him. And I want to talk more about that in the moment. But he has brought up the idea of you and your husband having children. And here's what you had to say about that in the special.
I have reconnected with my dad, and we're very close. But he really wants me to have kids because he thinks that's how you undo a traumatic past. And I always have to be like, oh, Dad, I think our family should stop. Should stop. Yeah. In fact, Ryan has a vasectomy scheduled for the end of the year. Yes. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. I booked it. Thank you.
That was my guest today, Atsuko Okatsuka, in her new Hulu comedy special, Father. What I love about that is that it's very singular because it's your experience, but I think that a lot of people can also feel that way. Like, we're not passing down this generational trauma here.
Right.
But was not having children something that you always knew for yourself that you didn't want, or did that come with you and Ryan together making that decision based on your history?
It's something I never really wanted, and then Ryan happened to feel the same way too. So when we came together, it was an easy thing to, come to a conclusion about. We didn't even have to come to a conclusion. We were just like, this is how we feel. Yeah. And he has had that vasectomy. Actually.
He has since then.
Yes. Look how excited you are. Woo! Yeah! We're free! Well, it was a long process of healing, but yes.
Margaret Cho, you tell the story about how being at this Baptist church,
Right.
someone gave you a DVD. Did they give you that DVD because they already could see you were funny, or was it just a coincidence?
I think they knew. Yeah, we would joke around a lot about stuff. And, she said, she was older than me, this girl who passed me the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, I think you'll like this.
Yeah.
And she gave me an example of a joke that Margaret Cho had, which was, she's really prolific. It's, she has a joke about how, like, Hello Kitty, she's Hello Kitty, that's her name, but she doesn't have a mouth. So how does she say hello, or something like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that's, as a kid, I found that to be so funny and neat.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's because she saw that I would enjoy it.
Many years later, you're face to face with Margaret Cho. You guys are not just relating in like a, hey, I'm a fan. You're relating in a, I see you, and you're my friend. Kind of talk a little bit about that, the significance of that, you being in this world where this person kind of showed you the way.
Oh my gosh. This is what I love about comedians. Comedians, we really know what it feels like to be sort of alone in our craft. We're not an improv team. It's not a play we get to do every night with a whole team.
Yeah.
It's just us on stage. It's us when we're writing. Sometimes, you can have friends to bounce off jokes with. Some people have writers' rooms even to write their stand-up jokes. But because of that, we just know, what that feels like. And it's really cool with Margaret Cho. It's because it's kind of full circle.
Yeah.
And
I was really touched. I think she said about you that when she looks at you, from the moment she first became acquainted with your work, that you just knew who you were immediately because she didn't know. And I think that's just, she didn't know for herself when she first started off. I think that's so powerful because you know who you are in part because you were able to see her do it.
Oh, for sure. Without Margaret Cho, there's no me. Without even Bobby Lee, who was one of the first. Without Joe Coy, there wouldn't be me. Without a lot of people, right? And we can go on with the list. Without Anna Mae Wong, who's an actress and not a comedian, but there wouldn't be me.
Okay, I have to ask you about being these like titles of being the first or the second. What do they mean to you? Do they hold significance to you? Because on one hand, I mean, they're said like this is an honor. You're only the second. At the same time, it's like, it's 2025, you know? Yeah.
Right, yeah. It's kind of like the being an inspiration thing that I talk about. It's like you don't want to be an inspiration. You don't ever want to make the news because that means something bad happened, right? Or something, bad has been happening, right? Yeah, it's yeah, it's 2025, but I think that's why I invest so much in the people because the people have always known. The people will always know before the 5 to 10 deciders,
Who
right?
give you a special. The folks you mean when you say the people, you mean the people who come to see you in your stand-up and follow you on social.
That's right. Yeah. Because those are the people, the bus drivers, the people who wait tables, the librarians, the doctors, whoever, right? The people who aren't afraid of, I don't know, I guess losing money, who is the exec at a place that, decides whether you have a special or a TV show or not. They want that content and they say they want it. That's why social media has blossomed so much, honestly, because that's where citizens, the people are.
One of the things I think I heard you say is that you're like, if there's a three-prong approach to your comedy. It's your voice, it's the material, and it's also what you do with your body when you're standing on the stage.
Right.
That each of those by themselves, you actually don't think is kind of funny. You think it's like all three of those things that it's actually the magic.
It's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Yeah, I guess so. Right. Yeah, that's how I express myself.
How did you discover that, especially when it comes to your aesthetic? I mean, your fashion game is what you are known for, secondary to you being funny. You wear these bright, beautiful colors. Your hair is on point. I mean, your hairstylist, did they, like, when you were out in the parking lot, do a little snip to make sure that bowl cut is as straight as can be? How did you come to that look? Had you always been a fashion person?
I don't think I was. I used to even wear like my grandma's clothes as a kid, whatever she got her hands on.
Yep.
And when someone 50 years older than you is dressing you, sometimes it was like plaid on plaid on plaid. What is going on? Or her idea of what a kid would wear. So sometimes it was like Hello Kitty top, Hello Kitty pants, bright red shoes, polka dotted shoelaces, right? And I think the randomness of that was kind of, it pushed me to, be out there looking wild. When I was a kid, I had this bowl cut too. And a lot of Asian kids have it when they're a kid. And but I do love fashion. And I love the arts. And so I love like looking like a art gallery owner a little bit. But also, it's a lot of Asians say, hey, I had that haircut as a kid. It was a nightmare. Everyone made fun of me. I think it's so ugly. And I like challenging that a little bit to be like, well, the things that made me feel like a freak, right? I'm going to own. Now I get to choose my own look, right?
And it's chic. It's chic now.
And it's fashion.
I know.
Right. And people show up wearing wigs of my bowl cut to my shows now. I've started a movement.
Do you remember that first set, what you joked about?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I remember one of my first jokes.
What was it? Yeah.
It's, this guy found out I was Japanese. And he said, Japanese, huh? Oh, well, I have a really good friend who works at Mitsubishi. Do you know Gary? And I go, Gary? No, I don't know Gary. I know Tom. That was my first joke. Yeah.
How did the crowd respond to it?
They laughed.
Yeah.
They laughed. Yeah, they loved it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, cool.
So much of your comedy is, it's light and observational, but there is an element where you're also subversive, where you are sitting in your identity as an Asian American woman, but you're also like challenging the stereotypes. There was this video that's out there where someone asked you about taking off your shoes in the house and taking off your outside clothes when you're getting in the bed. And you said, not only do you not take off your shoes, you also lay down with your outside clothes in your bed.
Jail, jail, arrest her, arrest me, jail, solitary confinement. Um, yes, yes, that was me. I cannot believe you found it. Tonya, you were trying to cancel me. And no, but that is out there. And
But the reason why it's so funny actually is because while you're leaning into who you are, you're also like really giving us another lens into what it means to be a multitude of a person as an Asian American. Because we start off thinking about those early Asian American comedians and the things that often they were pushed and forced into. And then here you are talking about here's what I'm not.
thank you so much. I couldn't have said it better myself. And that is why I still wear shoes in the house sometimes and outside clothes on the bed.
Did you get some hate from that?
Yeah, people were like, jail, jail, put her in jail. But, yes, I didn't have a conventional upbringing. So there's various reasons why, shoes in the house became a thing. Like, my mom and my grandma is 50 years old. My grandma's 90 now, okay? And, they both wear diapers, my mom and grandma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's is it incontinence? Is that what it's called? Incontinence. Yeah. There's incontinence going on. So there is urine on the floor. And so we just found it easier to wear shoes, for example, around the house. Mm-hmm. And so, there's little things like that. Mm-hmm. Then having to, take your shoes off and then clean it and then take your shoes off, over and over and then washing your feet. Just, yeah, it's just, no family is the same. No Asians are the same. We're not a monolith.
Of course.
Yeah.
You went to college. You tried out a lot of things. You also went to art school. You produced this documentary we were talking about where you followed your mother and grandmother. We got to see some of the realities of their lives. And one of the things that really struck me is that, as you said, like, your mom's always on your mind. You all are a trio. And as they age, I wonder how are you dealing with it? As you become an individual more and more out in the world, and the people that you grew up with that are like you never really saw yourself outside of them are aging. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, it's something I think I'm thinking about as I'm touring with my new show, After Father, and those are the themes I'm actually talking about more because I am going through it and thinking about, my grandma's mortality, for example, because she is 91 and, she's getting physically sick a lot more. Like she got her first ever UTI, high blood pressure issues. I gave her a bath for the first time recently. I'm learning these new things.
Yes.
And so it is something I'm thinking about. And more, I think you could see that. Like on my social media, I don't feature them as much anymore. I am becoming very much my own person in that, I'm in that phase that you were talking about where you're like, oh, when maybe there's trauma happening, you don't know it yet. So in a year, it'll be funny or I'll be able to talk about it. Right. But right now, it's like I got my therapist and then, we're figuring out more medical stuff with my mom and, me and my husband are figuring out medical stuff with grandma too. So yeah, we're just in the thick of it right now. Yeah.
Tell me about this new show.
Well, this new show is it is about like, caretaking and also now I also recently met my brother for the first time.
Your brother from whom?
My dad's side. Mm. Yeah, because my dad's side is full of surprises too. I'm finding.
And I just realized we might have like skipped right past this after I mentioned your father, but when you moved here at 8, you lived with your mom and your grandmother, and you had so many questions in your mind about your father. Why didn't he intervene and stop you from coming here to the States? even when you all forged a relationship, you never asked those questions until you were on This American Life. And he shared with you that he felt that maybe it was best for you to be with your mom and grandmother, but he felt a lot of pain about it.
Right.
But he had two children older than you when you were born from a previous marriage.
Right. And I didn't even mention the third one. There's another brother, and that's the brother I met recently. So, yeah, my dad's gone through a lot, but this past Christmas, when I went to go see my dad, I got to meet this brother too for the first time.
Can you say publicly what this new show is yet, or is it still under wraps?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm touring it now. I'm currently on tour with it. I just came out with a tour title. It's just called the Big Bowl Tour.
Okay.
Where my bowl cut is 4 times bigger than it is right now in the flyer, in the poster. Yeah. Yeah. And, in it, I really talk about going back home to Japan and, and this reconnection with my brother. Yeah, as well.
How do you brace yourself for these surprises? Because, I think when we turn 18, we turn 21, we know who we are, we're set, we understand our origin story, but your origin story keeps evolving.
Yeah, I know, because people be wild. No one was ready to have a kid is what I'm realizing, right? All of our parents, everyone was improvising, hence secrets, right? And so how do I embrace it? Oh my gosh, in my unhinged ways, right? So when my dad was like, well, your brother is here in Japan and we just reconnected. Would you want to meet him? I said, well, every time I come back to Japan, it's like a new piece of information.
Yeah.
What is up with my family? What is up with you guys? Every time I have a new sibling?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, of course I want to meet him. But I said, if we're going to do something dramatic like that, it's got to be under my terms.
What were your terms?
We're going to meet at a Ninja Samurai theme park.
What?
Near my brother, where my brother lives near.
Yeah.
And so he lives in Nikko, which is like a few hours away from Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I said, there's a Ninja Samurai theme park that I want to go back and revisit. It's really fun. It's mostly like 12-year-old kids and white guys that go.
How did you know about it? Was it a place you knew before and you're like, I got to get there?
I went there once with my dad when I was like 20.
Okay. Yeah.
When I got my green card and I could go visit him finally, I went and we went to that park together. And this time I had Ryan with me. I was like, I want to enjoy, this, running away from like ninja actors and samurai scare actors. And there's a performance every 30 minutes. There's a lot going on where I was like, we will never really have to communicate.
You can meet your brother, but you guys don't have to deal in feelings.
That's right. Yeah, it's me running away from feelings.
What's your mom's name?
Linda. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know that's her
She
American
goes by
name. We
Linda.
all know that.
Oh, okay. Right. Look at me. So, like, being under that hypnosis of her name is Linda. Xing-yi.
Xing-yi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Xing-yi.
Yes. Yeah. I'll tell her that. Yeah. And then she'll be like, I go by Linda.
Right. You told them that name? Yeah. Atsuko Okatsuka, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This was so in-depth and insightful, and I learned things about me through you, so I appreciate you.